course, of
Never.
course.
So
Yes,
you have to be, like aware of the fact that you don't master your native language. You don't
yes,
master it because this
yeah.
is so huge. Well,
Even
Germany is a place to learn German actually because people will either speak to you in a kind of a monkey language or
yes, that's true.
or
Welcome everyone to this interview. Today I have the privilege to be talking to my uncle, to my dear uncle. He's speaking 10 languages and three Arabian dialects. He's currently a professor at Aix-Marseille University. And today I will be asking him questions about language learning. Uh, I'm very happy to be here. Mm. First question is, so how long does it take for you to learn a language? And did the time from your learning your first foreign language to how your language is now, like did the time frame change?
yeah. Hi, thanks for the invite, John. Um, well, yeah, of course, it does change because well, like in our case, or in my case, it's a bit different because I started with two languages. So there's already like kind of a bias, we're not like in my case, may not be the case for other learners who have one native tongue. But of course, it does change. But let's start with once you are out of like uh, primary school age and you really focus yourself on learning a language without being forced to do
Forced,
it,
yes.
or a
Such a difference.
school setting is also kind of weird because it's not an like your way of learning a language is it's what they impose on you.
Yes.
Some people, some strange logic or methodology, that's perhaps not your methodology. So yeah, let's say you start with the third language, supposing that we all or many of us learn English as the first language in this school setting. And then let's say you start with your third language. So you already have some knowledge about English and the grammar of English and the grammar of major, yeah, at this time, major Indo-European language, which is English. And then you start, let's say, with some other language, which is also from the same group,
Mhm.
like
Yes.
Indo-European languages, which share
Mhm.
many characteristics. So, of course, it will get easier, but because it's the first language you learn by yourself or with your own, let's say, impetus, you kind of search for methods and stuff. So it's also kind of a trial and error thing,
Yes.
So there is no like best way to do it when you first start to learn a language. But what I can, let's say, um, recommend or say, how long does it take, once you have English as background, it takes
Mhm.
already a long time, let's say. But it depends on what you want to do with the language. So if it's only like small talk and just buying some, I don't know, stuff at the supermarket and having, like a little, yeah, conversation about the sun and the weather and the traffic and whatever. This may not take too long, but these kind of settings are very, let's
Limited.
say, limited. So you never, talk freely in this language. So, but if that's your goal, you're in there, very fast. I can't tell you how long, but it will be very fast. It depends on the intensity of your, yeah, of your um, learning. That's for the like very basic things, and also for very small very defined settings and so on. But if you want to talk freely and about a variety of subjects, it takes a long time. It for every language, it takes a long time. What's getting easier, at least when you're talking about these Indo-European groups that you and I are born into,
Yes.
um, that it gets easier, the grammar gets easier because
Yes.
the structures are kind of similar, and they have, of course, they have different they have differences, but it's manageable in some way. But yeah, so let's say you want to learn a language like the third language, which may be French or Spanish after English. Maybe it takes you some 6 months. I would say it would take some 6 months with like high intensity training to
Multiple hours a day with a
yeah,
teacher.
yeah. Well, that's what I think we're going to talk about later too. How
Yes.
many hours and stuff, and what kind of learning and so on. But I can
Yes.
say like six months is a good time frame
Okay, 6 months.
to be
So,
freely, like to talk freely, more freely. Yeah.
wow. So, actually, I'm surprised about this 6 months mark because the way that you explained it before, I was expecting a higher number than that. But perhaps I'm a little biased because currently I'm learning Chinese and that language it takes a little longer usually than that.
Different topic because
Yes,
this like
different
a whole
topic, of
yeah,
course, of
yeah,
course. We're
because
talking
it's
about Indo-European languages. Yes,
yeah.
yes. So, okay. So I remember when I called you on the phone and I told you, okay, I will start a new language now, and
Hmm.
please tell me the power boosters. You told me hmm, do a like a sprint, 5 days, 500 words, and I sat down and went to work at that. I did not manage 100 words a day at that pace, at least in Chinese. But so how would you structure the first 30 days for someone who decides to learn a new language and let's say has all the free time he needs and all the resources available to him?
Okay,
Uh,
okay. It's
we
a
can
good
stay in
thing.
the yeah.
I think it's a very good approach to give a lot of time to your learning when when you have some free time to yeah to a lot to it. So maybe people are working, I don't know, people do a lot of stuff, but if you can have some holidays or some, and you really want to learn language and it's your interest, I would say, yeah, take some time off. Like, what did you say, 30 days or 10,
Yeah,
how
30
many days?
days.
30 days.
30 days. Yeah.
Yeah, 30 days. So you take a holiday and then you just do language learning. So that's for me it's fascinating. It's always very interesting. So what is it about? So if you're still in this Indo-European time frame, in
Yes,
this Indo-European
exactly.
framework, so I would say um, you should look at the grammar. Yeah, like already wrap your head around the grammar, how it works and stuff. You compare it to what you've learned about English and so on, and you get some feeling about the grammar, in yeah, like broadly. Um,
Yes.
and then because you're basically you're alone, you have to find some teacher, already to yeah, to see how difficult it can get, to really understand and stuff, and see if you understand something or nothing at all, or a little bit, or watch some, I don't know, show on YouTube and see if you can understand something, after having looked at the grammar, and also build a vocabulary. So first 30 days, I would say, um, you should just check, how far you can get without, a lot of initial training. And then I would say because people they kind of pick up stuff, because they know some bribes, like little, no, not bribes, but little uh, yeah, details or phrases that they have
Yeah. Yeah.
caught caught
Caught
somewhere.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what you can do is just check that a little bit, and then I would say, yeah, dive into like basic vocabulary. Just
Mhm.
basic vocabulary and basic phrases. And there is some number, that the majority of people use, every day on a daily basis, like 500 words, about 600 words, and that's it.
Yes.
People
Yeah.
just don't use that many
Yeah.
words.
Yeah. The core vocabulary is that like 500-600 around. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you
Yeah.
should focus on that. But the whole thing about hearing and understanding, French is very can be very difficult to understand, and Spanish also. Well, it's for me it was easier Spanish than French, but also the order was French Spanish. If I started
Yes.
the Spanish, it would have been like I don't know, perhaps easier to learn French. But the thing is, yeah, you should go in there, but then also like to get the engine started, I would also um, recommend that you or anybody who wants to learn that third language, let's say, should uh, get a course, get like into a really good environment where you can learn with other people.
Okay.
Alone, I wouldn't say at first, in like one to one. I would recommend a group,
Wow.
like a
Okay.
class in
Uh-huh.
these first 30 days, just to get
Mhm.
into the language and have yourself corrected, and also see what others do. And that's what I would recommend, that you listen to other people, how they try to learn the language. At that moment, you kind of you get more firm in your own
Mhm.
language learning, and you also have time to write down stuff, or you have time to get to have the things settled.
Working in the background. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's not like this high intensity training with the one-to-one
That's
teacher.
interesting actually,
Yeah.
because the private teachers are of course more expensive than one-on-one teachers, more expensive, and from the outside, without the understanding, it looks like okay, I have someone which is just focused on me, so it's also like undivided attention, and it will be more effective. But very interesting to hear that, because I mean, obviously, it's much easier to access like group training, much cheaper, and I mean, it offers a lot of benefits, right? Okay, interesting.
And it's
I
also real life, not on, well, it has some benefits to, or good sides to it, positive aspects to it, that you are into like real life settings, like in a classroom or stuff, just not being on Zoom or whatever. Um, yeah, I would say, and it's also very demanding. If you have a one-on-one situation, learning doesn't is just not that effective in these first months. Like
Yes,
you will
yes,
be like overwhelmed with the stuff, and it's not very effective because it's like 1 hour. You pay 1 hour and you're already exhausted, after 1 hour. So I think like a group situation where you do 2, 3, 4 hours, or even 6 hours a day in a group
yeah,
situation, like a very high intensive course,
yeah,
even in the country,
yes.
So that's something that
Oh,
we have to
yes,
talk about again, also.
yes, yes,
Because you have to be like in some kind of setting where you can practice the stuff. If it's
yeah,
in your country and you're in this high intensive course, of course you will learn a lot, and you
yeah.
will like be kind of proficient after, not proficient, but you can speak already and stuff and do stuff with your language at the end, but it won't be
Settled so
it
so
won't be
much soon.
settled. It won't have the roots. The roots
Okay,
are not developed yet at that
yes.
point. Yeah.
So at what, um, as a follow-up question, at what point in the development, let's say in terms of vocabulary and in terms of understanding the grammar, comes immersion becomes most effective? So let's say I know I have a certain time frame to prepare before I go to that country and immerse myself, um, at what time does that exposure get most effective? What kind of groundwork should be done before that yields the best results, the best
Mm.
returns?
Yeah, what I suggest always is to listen to a lot of like the language we acquired, to listen to it or to watch videos, to watch films, to watch a lot of those films with subtitles and not always look at the subtitles, try to understand also without looking at the subtitles, but always, after having a certain level, let's say you did like 1 month intensive training, like 6, 7, 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and then after that,
That's,
or while you're doing that, and at some point you can begin to watch like easy stuff,
yes.
stuff that is really kind of for learners, and
Yes.
then try to follow the speakers without really without really looking at the subtitles and stuff. You
Subtitle
can do that
means
in the
subtitles in my
video.
language or in the learning language,
In the other
in the
language,
other language. Okay.
you can stop your video and look at it again. There are tools for doing that. There are tools like a language reactor, which stops at after every sentence. And you have shortcuts, that make you like repeat the sentence or go to the next, and the video just stops. It is available on YouTube and on Netflix and stuff like that. So it's an extension to Chrome, actually. So what I did with Spanish, for example, which is the language that I started when there were still like audio cassettes around at that point. It was a
Yeah.
terrible thing. But still, I started with the cassettes where, there was a lot of speaking in, and it belonged, let's say, to the course, which were like 2 books of learning. And I did those 2 books, I think, yeah, within a month, about one month, So, and I listened to the cassettes all the time, which is
Yes.
not like real life. Well, there were real life situations, but these were expected situations,
Of
which
course.
I already listened to. But this is the thing, repeating the stuff that you did while you were learning, while you were in that class, like for one
Yeah.
month or even 2 months, I don't know, and then listen to it all over again. And then at one point, or at like simultaneously, you watch videos, like easy videos, short videos,
So
and trying to understand what the people say. And that's like, let's say, that's the first step to immersion. Yeah.
for the videos, I've heard people talk about like an 80-20 ratio, 80% of what we already understand and 20%, which is like new things that we don't understand. Do you think that's appropriate, or should it be like a higher percentage of things we don't understand?
It depends on your, let's say, tolerance to not understand stuff. Uh,
Okay.
if you're like already like lost at 80-20,
Huh?
okay, so try to do, like 90. But that's also like a mindset, The mindset of
Yes.
learning is not to understand fully everything. The mindset of learning when you learn a new language, in my opinion, is get the message. And
Yes. Okay.
afterwards, the step that comes afterwards is respond in a sensible way, like in a way that the other person understands you.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yes.
let's say it's like the child's way. The children, they may not understand everything. They may not understand the grammar, or they may make mistakes. You see.
Yes.
But as adults, we try to, avoid mistakes. We're afraid of mistakes because it means failure. It means,
Yes.
we're not worth anything. I don't know. This is like
Yes.
the mindset of, being someone who masters something. Even
Yes.
my English now, for people, who watch us, they will say, well, his English is not that good. No, no, no. Yeah, so what? It's about talking, it's about, getting the message, Uh, yeah, so over it. So that's a mindset thing, I'm also a kind of perfectionist. I am always trying to do the best to be like proficient and uh yeah, and master, but that's something I want to point out also, like from the scratch, is you won't master the new language fully as you
Yes,
don't master your native language fully.
of course, of
Never.
course.
So
Yes,
you have to be, like aware of the fact that you don't master your native language. You don't
yes,
master it because this
yeah,
is so huge. Even
yes.
you're born in, I don't know where, in the US, or and you speak that language, you have read every book that was available, you have a huge vocabulary. Even then, you're not mastering it like
I heard,
fully to the full degree. Yeah.
I heard someone who also actually does speak a lot of languages, and then I think it was his father. He also gave him the same reflection, and nowadays when people ask him how many languages do you speak, he says almost one.
It's a good one. It's really it's not false modesty.
Yeah,
It's realistic. It's
yeah.
realistic. Yeah.
Okay, so now you have this wide collection of many different languages,
Just
and
1 second.
of
Excuse
course,
me. Excuse me. Just 1 second. Just because we were talking about immersion. Let's
yes,
say
please.
so. Let's say you did all this listening. You did all this, but okay. We also place ourselves into the country. We want to, let's say, immerse ourselves. It's good to, let's say you did your first learning stuff 1 month. You can do that in your country, wherever, in the group,
Yes,
and also
yes,
following videos and TV and stuff. And then I would really recommend to go and live in that country, like for full immersion. And there you really like blasted away by the dialect, by the way, the people speak, how fast. France is incredibly difficult because the speed is just yeah, too fast. It's just too high, and you're really lost, the first weeks and stuff. But you have to find people, that you can talk with, old ladies. I don't know,
yeah,
just find people who talk slowly,
yeah.
because the French
Or
they try
children,
yeah, or try children. Of course, they don't, they will correct you, yeah, if you like them to. And yeah, old people, children, and spend your time with in a cafe and speaking to old people there in a, I don't know, somewhere in a village and stuff, and do that every day. So France is a very good place to learn because French love their language, and they just talk to you in their language. In Spain, well, also not bad. Turkey is a very good place to learn Turkish.
yeah,
People don't speak about it. There are people that speak English, but
yeah,
not that many. So
yeah,
yeah, Netherlands is not a good place to learn Dutch because
yeah,
everyone wants to speak German or English with you.
yeah,
Italy is kind of okay. Yeah, it depends on the, let's say, level of English they learned in those countries. And if you're an expat in Egypt or somewhere, it's you have to be in these popular places where you can learn, actually you can talk Arabic, because
I
if
mean,
you
that's why
are mm,
in our time, old people still we have that advantage that they probably didn't learn their second language so well. So old people have the patience and also mostly speak their native language mostly, depending on
yes,
where
yes,
we are.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And even if your level is like really very low, because if it's the first time you go to that country, and you really, you have a lot of, you have read Balzac, I don't know, you've read Garcia Marquez, I don't know, like you've read like all the classics in that language, and you're really professional. But active vocabulary doesn't come with that, and even if you have like watched 20 miniseries or and so on, and you kind of understand quite well, but once there, you will see that everything starts from anew, and you will be like, whoa, overwhelmed um by the massiveness of new expressions and the way people say them. So it will be like shocking every time. It can be shocking even after you have had like 1 year of immersion, because you think
Yes.
you can do everything, and then you are like, what? What is this?
Yeah.
And yeah, but yeah, prepare yourself, to be taken aback
Okay.
many, many times, yeah. So yeah. go to that place, go to that country, talk to people, and then you will see, you will pick up, and you will feel more comfortable in those everyday situations, going for like going shopping and asking people stuff, asking his way around, and talking about, I don't know, uh, daily life. And that's getting really easy after a point, after some months, I would say it will be really easy to talk about those things.
Okay. So I had one question written down about like secret power boosters or like certain secrets for language learning, but what I can hear from what you're saying is basically just throw yourself at the language or throw the language at you and just soak in it, soak in it, soak in it like in many different ways. Uh,
Yes,
am I
yes,
getting that
yes.
right? Yes. Okay.
Yes, yes, it's immersion. It's not only going somewhere and being like, yeah, overwhelmed by the people who talk around you, and you just, drowning in it. Though there is a video about this, when you immerse yourself, you're getting drowned because, yeah, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
Um, it's reading, it's listening, it's trying to talk, and uh yeah, being in that environment where people speak that language is actually the best way to expose yourself. And even if it's shocking, even if it's taking you aback, even if it's frustrating. So I think you just have to stick to what you know already. And if it's something that you don't understand, you have to stick to people who have the patience, and to have yeah, have the time to correct you, have the time to help you. Um, yeah, and like to be with you, that this is the kind of right immersion that I'm talking about, where you don't where you're not just yeah, thrown
So
at.
selective. It's more selective than what we usually understand. Like instead of
Yeah,
just going out, it's like a selective immersion according to your level. So that also
yes, of
answers my
course.
question to like at what level should we aim at what? So that means we can adjust our immersion to where we're at. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, but it's not very obvious. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, don't go and immerse yourself into a like Molière theater piece, when you just have 1 month of French training. You will sit there. Perhaps you will pick up stuff, but well,
Now, a question that comes to for the people who are learning language just because of for the love of learning. So that means they may be at their fourth or fifth language. Um, so how do you handle like long-term retention? How much time investment does it need? I can't imagine balancing 10 languages. And even if I just take, let's say, like half an hour per week for a specific language, that already adds up to a lot of time. Uh, so yes, please speak a little bit on that.
uh, yeah, that's one of the if you are a polyglot, I think there is one way to really circumvent this problem in a basic, let's say, for a basic vocabulary thing, or for a basic daily routine, not routine, but a day, let's say, like the stuff, that you use in everyday occasions. Let's say there is if you lived in a country where that language is spoken for a certain time, and you have exposed yourself not in a passive manner but in an active manner, you've exposed yourself to that language, and you've spoken to many people in many different occasions. I think there is some memory in our brain
Yes.
that won't go away. There is
Okay.
something, which is hardwired in a way. There is a hardwired basis that makes you respond to people in
Yes.
any language automatically. It's just it's very deeply ingrained, deeply written in your brain and memory. So yes, I think this comes only if you expose yourself enough uh, and use that language actively and naturally enough to have that basis, which does not mean that you will be as proficient as you have been at the
Of
peak
course.
of
Of
your
course. Of
immersion, of
course.
your, let's say, practice in that country at a certain point, you know.
So
So,
that
yeah,
basically means if we have a certain time span where our brain really gets the signal that we do need this vocabulary, like that we will have to respond to someone. So this kind of anchors it into the brain in a different way.
I think so. I think that's like muscular learning, where the
Yes, I was
muscles
going to
learn.
say the same. Yes,
Yes, when you learn to ride a bike, you do this, it's a very hard thing, and then at one point you get it, and you will never forget it. These basic things or basic expressions and locutions, but also like situations that you practice so many times that not only in your brain, it's like in your body. And
yes.
that will happen. That will actually happen, but you have to live in a certain country for some time, and you have
Can you give a time
to.
frame, like a very broad time frame for that, just so we can make an approximation? Are we talking about months or about half a year approximation?
Phew, hard to say. Uh, well, if it's an Indo-European language, if it's like if you did already, let's say, French, and you go and learn Spanish, you go to Spain, you live there for, let's say, some months. But what I say is that you really practice all the time and you speak
Actively,
all the
of
time.
course.
You have people
Yes.
that you can talk to all the time. It's like your own, it's like the only language that you speak at that
Ideal
moment.
situation. Yes. Okay.
Ideal situation. You really do nothing else, right? You do something else, but actually you're always with people. You always talk. I would say to get this naturally, yeah, perhaps 2 months.
Wow, that's great.
Minimum,
Okay.
minimum, minimum.
Minimum. Yeah.
I'm talking minimum and ideal
Yes. Yes. Circumstances.
circumstances. Uh, yes, I would say, yeah, it starts about 2 months, but this is like really the bare minimum. I had this with Spanish. It was okay for me, because I started in Istanbul, learning from the book, and then I went to a course, which I started somewhere like medium, like for intermediate, and then uh, and then my first visit to Spain uh, was really after that. No, it was Argentina actually. I went to Argentina, and then I talked and I was immersed into the language. I stayed there for 5 weeks, and that was it. After that,
Wow.
I could, like,
Okay.
there
Very
was
solid.
already that automatic thing in my
Wow.
head, and after that, I went to Granada and for longer, like for 10 months. And now I already have that basis. It needs, some kick off if you
Yeah.
really get into contact again with a native speaker.
Like a launching rocket launch that you can get into the like gravity free zone. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Once,
Okay.
let's say you get into that, back into into that environment.
Yes.
It's easy when you get into the environment like Spain or any other Spanish speaking country, let's say. And then it takes some time to get the motor, back on again. But it takes about 2 days to be like fully in and have that like the automatisms going.
Yes.
Yeah, but if it's like in an environment in, let's say, in some other country, and there is a Spaniard or a Hispanic, let's say Mexican or something coming onto you, and you were speaking at that moment, you were speaking, I don't know what, some other language like Arabic or something, that may it or Italian, that at that point, you may get mixed up and confused.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
these are like very confusing moments. But once you're in the environment and you're surrounded by uh, same language speakers, It's kind of 2 days, yeah, that you get fully back
Great.
in, and you
Okay.
can, these stuff just comes back and you're like, oh God, good, 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 good. And you look at the
Yeah.
vocabulary and it's really fast. I went to Morocco once and after learning Moroccan for some time. I went to Morocco, lived there for 4 months. It was really hard because they switch very fast. These are the problems, linked to some like niche languages that
Yeah.
the people can try and avoid to speak with you or avoid to teach you because
Yes.
they think that it's like a lower register, it's like a lower prestige dialect or
Okay.
language, and then
Okay.
they switch to higher prestige dialects, and you're like, oh
Okay.
man, stop that. But
Okay.
once you, that was hard, there are
Well,
some exceptions.
that's a very niche problem. That is I think that is
Hmm.
that is that doesn't concern most of the major languages, I guess, probably, right?
Uh, German is a bad place to, well, Germany is a bad place to learn German actually because people will either speak to you in a kind of a monkey language or
Yes, that's true.
or, like du machen das nicht, yeah? Or they will speak to you in English, or they say, which language do you speak? And they try their French, or they will try their Spanish, or they try their, I don't know what language, to actually develop themselves and not you.
Yes,
So,
yes.
stop that.
Egoistic environment.
Yeah, I won't really, let's say, put the blame on. It's not with
No, no, I'm
everybody.
joking. Yes, yes.
But I'm
Uh,
like the experience that I get back from people who try to learn German and they go to German and they like either they speak to me in that or they won't really speak to me in German because they don't have the patience. Everyone is doing
yeah,
work.
patience.
They
It's a
have to.
matter of
Yeah.
industrious like
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I see. So, closing question. Is there a method that you consider completely overrated or a common misunderstanding? Like, to give an example, I mean, I have seen friends who I'm connected with when I downloaded the Duolingo app and I can see like there are 3,000 no, not 3,000, but a lot of day streak, very high day streak in let's say, in a very complex language. But I think as we talked about this, like rocket fuel example, you need a certain launching power to get into that space of non-gravity where you actually keep floating in one direction. So I feel like a lot of people have this illusion of if they gather enough days with 5 minutes, they will at one point speak a language, which is, I think, one of the like misunderstandings of the common
Mm.
misunderstandings. Can you talk
Mm.
on that?
Yes, of course. There are many methods that actually do not work. There's this school method, which is about grammar and reading and talking about stuff with a teacher that is maybe not native either. So, and it's very structured, but it's not natural. It's not spontaneous. Which is everything that language is, it's like conversation, talking. Of course, again, it depends on what you want to learn. If you want to learn reading and want to learn to understand people, just videos and stuff, of course, you can do passive. Duolingo is very good, to learn a language in a passive way because it doesn't respond. It doesn't
Yes.
say something that you won't understand fully.
Yeah.
It just says stuff that you already did, or it's very structured, very limited. But yeah, and even grammar, it's like so fractured. The grammar of Duolingo, I would say, is not for people who are thinking in a structured way and who already have some language experience. They want to see the grammar, in a comprehensive way and to see, okay, how does that, is there a paradigm of where verbs and conjugation and so on and so on? And they will, like look at those. Um, yeah, lists and diagrams and tables and stuff and learn much more than having 5 minutes of Duolingo every day and being the greatest Duolingo hero.
Yes.
Yeah, so school is not really helpful if you want to speak to people. School is helpful if you want to read large and heavy books. So you will
Yes.
understand books and you will be very
Yes.
proficient and so on and
If you
have a
follow the
good
content. I was dragged through two languages in school, actually three, and they only
Yeah.
succeeded with one because I had interest in that. But
Yeah,
yeah, a
that's
lot
a
of
problem. That's a
wasted
problem
time.
because it's so passive. You have to be really interested in the language and also in the literature. And I don't know what they teach there now, but it's not about natural talking in the school. Not about natural talking. It's about writing essays, and it's about which is very good. You know, you should really learn to write also. But this is also, yeah, you should or you should not. It's about up to you. You know, if you want, you do. If you don't, you won't. I know. So if you want to chat with people, you better learn chatting, right? Because
Yes,
it's a different
exactly.
way of writing, of course. And yeah, so methods. If you really want to speak, you have to expose yourself to real people, and you have to be curious, and you have to be forgiving yourself. If you're not forgiving yourself, you're always biting your lips. You know, oh shit, I did a mistake. Oh shit, I did a mistake. You're already losing the next sentence that the person says. You know, so if you're
Yes.
like, did I say? No, just try to, and then afterwards you can think, okay, perhaps this was wrong. If you don't have the opportunity to ask the other one because it's a nuisance, you know, to ask every time, you know, was this right? Was this right? So only like really patient people would do that for you. So rather you would think, oh, okay, afterwards, was that correct or not? And then it gets reconnected to watching videos, watching real life situations where people
Completely
just get into the same situation, and then you will see, that's the way you could respond
respond.
to saying thank you. That's the way I should do this, and not the way I did. So, okay, next time I will, yeah, write it down
So
somewhere.
this comes back to creating the necessity to signaling, like to signal your brain that there will be a necessity for the situation. So even if you put yourself in the situation where you don't have the capacity to answer, it will still have this effect of basically creating this vacuum, which is then much more like effective to be filled by whatever you take in.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly. You feel the
okay,
need. You feel the need that something there is off, and I need to correct that and need to adjust that. And that creates the, let's say, the desire to look it up or to go back to your notes. And perhaps you have written it somewhere, you know, in Anki, which is a good tool for memorizing, and
vocabulary.
then you go back there and check if that was right, and the next time you use it the right way. You create the same situation and you say it the right way, or it comes naturally, which is the best what to happen. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I think we definitely have our time in. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank
Professor.
you very much for this. So what I'm saying is, you know, I learned Arabic for, you know, now you're learning Chinese. That's let's say the closing remarks.
Yes.
Uh, I'm not proficient in Arabic. I'm teaching that language. I'm teaching especially the literature, and it's a vast ocean. And Chinese is the
Yes.
same vast ocean. Now, of course, English and so on, and you have Shakespeare and you have all these big poets and all these writers, and it's also a huge ocean, English and French and Spanish and every, you know, language that is spoken in Europe, and Italian, everything. Um, but especially when the language is structured completely differently, um, you have to change the way you perceive the language. Actually, immersion there becomes a totally new thing because
Yes.
yeah, the way you think, even, you know, the way you think may have to change because the language
Yes.
imposes itself on you. So you have in
Yes.
Arabic, you have these different, you know, like root structures or root letters, and doesn't as you can't associate those root stuff with something, you know, with
Direct
in
communication, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
The structure is not yet there in your brain to
Yes,
even compute
yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
you have to get into it, and you have to really force yourself to understand how this works actually, you know. And in Chinese, I think it's the same thing. So there you have to extend your proficiency, let's say, um, objective on a larger time frame. You have to
Oh,
project a larger time frame, and to be more, even more forgiving with you. You say, "Fuck, why I can't, you know, can't I get this into my head? It doesn't really
yeah.
fit into my head.
Yeah.
I'm not proficient. I can do that in English in no time, or in Dutch, or I don't know, in any other language in no time. But here in Turkish, it's the same thing. If you start to learn Turkish, you know, the way the language works is just different. You have like a different kind of past for different uh, aspects. So yes.
So that would even give us a lot of like material for a second part if we decide to do something like that, where I would ask you
Mm.
about the um, because there's also a certain way of thinking, as you said, like attached to a language, a certain way of understanding, even a certain
Mm.
wisdom of that culture, like kind of right baked into the language, or is like just
Mm.
encrypted in the language, and
Yeah.
how learning a new language would expand our way of thinking and also emoting. Like there are languages which we feel much more poetic, like for example, the Oriental languages, for example, or some
Mm.
which feel more scientific. So yeah, that is the material for our next episodes.
Okay.
If we decide.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. And for all of you watching, if you have questions, please write them down below. We might have the opportunity to answer them in the future. And thank you so much for watching and for giving us your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.